Hello gamers and welcome to Game Up. I'm Elwood.
I'm Kim.
And this is our review of Double Kick Heroes.
Early access.
Double Kick Heroes is a rhythm-based game which sees you and your metal band cruising through the apocalyptic wasteland in your Gundalak as you crush your enemies with the power of metal, battle your way through half a dozen chapters of adventures, which certainly take on some interesting musical tones as you battle various monsters and zombies, as I said, using the power of metal to defeat them. This is certainly a unique rhythm-based game, and one which seems kind of fresh compared to a lot of the rhythm-based games that we've seen recently. But, I mean, Kim, what do you think were your sort of opening thoughts for Double Kick Heroes?
Well, I had like a blast playing it. I mean, like the genre itself is kind of like fresh, I think, because it's a mashup of everything. You kind of have like it's like a shoot 'em up with a rhythm with just, action in general, right? Obviously action goes with the shoot 'em up part.
Yeah.
And I always find that, surprisingly shoot 'em ups are not so frequent right now that, like there's really not that much that is like that. And, even for rhythm to combine these two elements together, the closest thing I can think of is like Thumper, where it's called rhythm violence. So I don't know what type of genre that is, if this fits into that, right? I think like this game is really cool in the sense that like I'm not a big fan of metal, but I thought the music matched the setup really well. And you have these like very creative characters, like your band, like they're a cool group of people pretty much. They have like very distinct personalities. If you go through the story mode, you get to see that. If you don't like the story mode, you can do arcade mode, so that gives you that flexibility. And like you see these like these zombies. You start off with zombies and then they turn into like one section there's like zombie chickens and stuff like that, like crazy chickens running after you, and there's like this satisfaction of killing them, and there's like this clucking sound, and I can see if anyone who's vegan who's watching this is yelling at me right now, so I'm sorry, don't mean to do that, it's just a game. I think it's a really unique idea. I think there's a few problems with it, I think in just the structure of it, but overall, I mean, it's a very very invested, like sort of immersive experience. And it's just the early access, which has like I think like I don't know if you call that 3 chapters, or how do you separate it? I guess like I don't know. I mean, I went through like the first map. There's like 3 bosses that I went through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly a varied game, despite what on the surface seems like very repetitive gameplay. I mean, you and your band are cruising through the wasteland in your souped-up Cadillac, which has got guns on the back, which you are basically control. All the while they're rocking out, and you're basically using the left and right arrow keys to hit notes which appear on either the top or the bottom line, which obviously you have to hit in time with the music. And by hitting notes in successive order, you can get all the more powerful sort of weapons. So you go from guns to shotguns to machine guns, and just fighting wave after wave of these zombies and other sort of interesting foes. And
I really like the idea that your guns upgrade with the amount of combos you have, while at the same time, as the game progresses, like in like one of the later chapters, you kind of have that addition of like having an extra weapon, so you can like hit a different note, and then you get like the grenade. And the grenade will launch itself as where you are, and then they add a little bit of differences, like when you get to the boss fights, you have like your car normally doesn't have any steering, but in that sort of phase you get vertical steering to beat the boss, and like I think it adds like different things to give it this sort of extra difficulty.
yeah, it's certainly constantly seems to be a game which is trying to constantly give you something new. I'm not particularly great at rhythm games, so hitting those combos was a little bit of a challenge for myself. So often you find yourself with the guns overheating, and I wasn't sure if it's because I'm just not hitting those beats, or being a bit too frantic on the keys. It's a bit hard to see, but certainly when you're being faced with this like swarm of zombies coming towards you, and you don't seem to be killing them quick enough going off their rhythm pattern. But yeah, it's certainly a lot of fun. And when you see some of the bosses that you come across, like you've got the T-Rex, you've got this mutant shark man thing, you've got like Mad Max style marauders. Even when you think, oh, I've got this figured out, this is just like a zombie shooter, it constantly throws something new at you, which is it's really fun to see. At the same time, I couldn't see this being like my main game of choice. This is a sort of game that you sort of pick up and play for a little bit, and then you go on and play something else or get on with your day. It's not the sort of game that I can see myself like dedicating hours and hours and hours to.
I actually did. So,
yeah.
I actually know. I mean, rhythm games are really like my jam. I really, really love them. I went through like a crazy DDR phase. I went through a crazy Guitar Hero phase. I never had Rock Band just because I didn't have the room and the amount of friends to play with. Sad, yes, I know. So I thought this game was really fun. I mean, I actually went back and I don't know, for the review purposes or for just getting a good impression of like how the game was in general, I actually went back and I checked out some of the other difficulties, just to see like how like the progression changes with every single type, because they do have 5 different modes, and that's supposed to increase the accessibility for everyone. There's a lot to like about it, but I think that like one of my main issues with it was really the fact that I think that like you put a really good point, is that like it gets really, really hard, and I haven't decided if like I haven't tried playing with a keyboard yet. But I wonder if a keyboard would be easier than a controller, even though the game seems to be geared for a controller. Because, like, when the grenade comes in, it was just ridiculous. Like, I actually put my controller onto a table and used it and, like, remapped my keys to turn into a joystick. So that, like, I could just use it like a joystick in its way. And that way, like, I can hit the keys whenever I want. Because you soon realize, as, you know, you play a few more... Like, I played this game maybe, like, once or twice. And, like, you kind of, like, see that as you do that right and left for, like, the normal gun, it really matters that you're aiming the top or bottom, I feel. Because whichever side has more zombies coming at you, and you're hitting the top or the bottom of the screen, it really makes a difference.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I mean, my other thing is that I feel that the bar of where the rhythm is coming through, and with the proportion of, like, the action scene that's going up on top, is really, like, not so balanced. Where, like, when I'm so focused, I can't look at the top. So when things get really hectic, it's like I glance up and I'm like, I have to react really fast to the bottom. And I don't know if it's, like, if they kind of, like, half-halved it would have been better. Because your main gameplay is at the bottom, right? So it doesn't make sense that your top becomes such a big part of your screen, like, when I'm not really looking at it that much.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, I was playing this on keyboard, and unlike yourself, Kim, who's obviously got nimble fingers, I mean, I've just got these stupid Shrek fingers, which are rubbish for this sort of thing. So I was really couldn't get the rhythm, and at the same time, it didn't seem to be giving me the sort of responsiveness that I wanted from the keys. It's sort of like I didn't know if I'm not pressing them hard enough or what's happening. It just didn't seem to be getting the sort of readout that I wanted. So maybe it was something that I need to go back and try the controller with. But as you were saying, you mean it's the case then of remapping the controller, or perhaps just holding the controller in different ways. There's often with these sort of like rhythm-based games, you have to hold your controller in a really awkward way rather than the sort of traditional way, just so you can get the speed down when you're doing the taps.
Well, obviously, like, I mean, I'm sure, like, there's someone out there who has played this game and is like, oh, man, I played it at, like, you know, violence or something, which is, like, I didn't even try violence. I barely could get through metal. Like, I couldn't even get through the second boss in metal difficulty, which is a hard difficulty. So, usually, I'm pretty good at these things, and I can play hard, and they're not too bad, but, like, I had such a hard time, you know, going through it. Maybe, like, in the future when I practice a whole lot and I can have a lot of time to dedicate to the game. But, I mean, I gave this game, like, 4 hours so far to play all of this, and you know, it's a fun time. I think that's what, like, as an early access, like, you get a really good idea of where this game is headed, and I feel that it's pretty good for an early access game, as just, like, showing off what they can do. And, like, I'd really like to see the further development, to see, like, where they're going to where this goes as they put more updates out for this access.
It is going to be interesting, obviously, to see what they add to the game, how they sort of further develop it. Because I think it's certainly a very imaginative and colourful world that they have. You've obviously got the very retro style graphics as well, which is always kind of welcome. But at the same time, you can see that there's still plenty more space on this canvas to obviously build on this world. It's not like it's shown us all its moves as yet in this sort of early access that we're seeing here. So, yeah, and there's definitely sort of more room to add more randomness, more craziness to it. So, I'd definitely be interested to see what it has.
Yeah, I'd probably even introduce, this one we had a few, mock characters of, legends and famous people and, movies and such. I think they were, really 80s inspired, I would say. I'm really bad with decades and when people showed up, so I would say they're, 80s inspired, a lot of the things, characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's, there's, this... It was really interesting to see, where else, what else they're going to introduce as the story goes along. What other characters they're going to try and, pull out and stuff like that.
I mean, obviously, this being an early access at the moment, I mean, it's hard to really rate a game that's still not finished as of yet with an early access, but I think it certainly shows promise. I mean, does this inspire you to want to play the full game when does it actually get fully released? Or did you sort of get everything you wanted from this early access?
Oh no, I mean, like I said before, I'm really, really interested in seeing where else they're gonna go with this game. So I mean, I don't think there's enough rhythm games in the gaming world right now. Obviously there's a few obscure ones that I've been checking out lately, but I mean, I don't think there's enough rhythm games, and the tone and just it has a really fun aspect to it. It gets a little it gets really hard in certain parts, and but then it really helps because beating the bosses and the challenge of it all really feels like sweet victory, and I really, really like that feeling. So how about you?
Yeah, I think it's something that I would certainly look at. I don't feel that it would be my main game of choice. I think mainly because I'm not particularly great at it, and because of the style of gameplay it is, but certainly the sort of game that is fun to sort of pick up and put down. I could see it being on my rotation of shorter games, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if when this gets its full release, we'll do another actual review of it. Put it into our list, and we'll see where this heads. So thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. Head over to our home base, thatmomentin.com, to read our game reviews. To get gaming news every single day, follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook at Game Warp Podcast. You can see our gaming obsessions on our Instagram at Game Warp Podcast, and hang out with us over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Game Warp Podcast. Till next time, bye!
Awesome.